Hello, Serge here from the backyard driving range. Have the clipboard out and we have a question, and this comes from Jerry R in the Florida Keys. And Jerry says, I have been working on this swing for about a year now and have lowered my score about 10 to 15 strokes and am hitting the ball relatively straight. About 3 or 4 times during an 18-hole round, I will hit the ground about 3 or 4 inches before the ball. I have clubs that were fitted by a PPGS club fitter, so the reason is not that the clubs are too long. This hitting the ground before the ball happens with my long clubs, my 3 hybrid, or my shorter club 7 hybrid. Doing this is enough to screw up the round when I have a good one going. I'm wondering what some of the reasons for doing this might be, besides moving my spine or body down, which I do not think I am doing. I really try to maintain my spine angle and keep outward pressure on my knees during the backswing. When setting up, I usually ground the club since I want to just pick the ball off the ground. Could grounding the club in the setup cause this to happen? I'm sure others may have the same problem. Thanks. Really enjoy the daily videos. Jerry R from the Florida Keys. Okay, Jerry, let's take a look at a couple of things. First off, you asked if grounding the club would do it. I don't think grounding the club is going to do it. Because I think the most important thing about grounding the club, or let's say is if you were teeing a ball up and you had it teed up relatively high, I believe you should always start the club where the ball is, because that sets your spine angle and your knee flexion, so your whole setup position at that point where the club has to come back and strike the ball. And so if you didn't ground the club, you would have to have, and you're set up to this position, you would have to have some type of in-swing change to come down from here to there. Conversely, if you were teeing up a driver pretty high and you were down here and the ball is up here someplace, you'd have to make an adjustment of the spine coming upward. So I think grounding the club is not an issue. But since you seem to have taken out the number one cause, what I would automatically go to in terms of equipment, and that the clubs could be too long because you've been fitted by a Peak Performance and a Swing Surgeon certified fitter, so you're very likely you have the right clubs. So the key becomes, what are some of the other things that you're asking would be the major causes of hitting behind the ball? All right, well, number one would be, you know that we have this concept called nose at the ball. When you're set up, your nose should be at the ball. Many people stand here, and especially if you do the concept about turning your head to the right, as some people say. Jack Nicklaus was famous for that. He turned his head to the right, and people say that's great because it helps you set up behind the ball so you can make a bigger turn. Well, we set up behind the ball on a preloaded heavy right, but the key is we don't really want to make the bigger turn. We want to make the 3/4 limited turn, which is turning only to the toe line. But you have to also remember, Nicklaus could play that way because he was left eye dominant. But if you're a right eye dominant person and you cock your head behind the ball, and the easiest way to check that out is wherever you set up, just close your eyes, then open them up, and where are your eyes focusing? If in this case, if you were cocked to the right and you open your eyes would be focused back here someplace. And where's that? 3 or 4 inches behind the ball. Hello? You tend to return the club back to where your eyes are focused. Now, let's assume that you check your nose out and you have it at the ball so that when you open it up, the ball is right in the center of your focal field, of your vision. And then you say, well, okay, well, I'm good with that. But hello, here's another thing that could happen. As you take away into the catcher's mitt and up the tree, if you turn too much, and one of the reasons why the limited turn is critically important is because any human being who has their head attached to their shoulders by their neck, if one turns their shoulders at least 90 degrees, it is literally impossible to keep your head still while your head rides your shoulders. And so if you turned in here and there's 70-degree turn, but if you go that extra 20 or 30 more yards, where did my head just go? My nose is now pointing right back here at that stack of balls. And so you're back in here. What is your brain sensing and seeing the ball, if it can even see it? The ball's over here someplace. So what do you have to do? You have to come back to the ball. And then it's very easy with the head out that far off the ball to come back and release the club too early, or not get your head back enough and you're going to hit it behind the ball, or even come too far and come out of the shot and you can start topping them too and chopping them. So the key is that in a good swing, as you'll see when I'm doing this, I set up with the nose at the ball, and with the limited turn swing, my head is still there at the top of the backswing. Get it from here to there and I'm still looking at the ball. It hasn't changed. I get from here and I keep turning like this. My head has to move because the chin will be hit by the shoulder or the left arm pulling it backwards off the ball. And just the fact that it turns that much is pulling it off. And that could be a really big problem because, again, we've seen many, many golfers who think they're doing a 3/4 limited turn, turning only to the toe line, are in fact turning too far. Another issue could be that, let's say you are turning only 3/4, but you keep going too far past 3/4 and get to parallel or even close to parallel. That can lift you up a little bit out of it, but you might say, well, I don't feel like I'm lifting, but sometimes it might not be much. But again, once you're 3/4 and if you just keep lifting, your shoulder will be hitting, or your left arm will be hitting your chin, and your spine might be staying still, but it's pulling your head just enough off the ball where you're getting a little bit more behind it, and if you're really still in trying to make your transition, you could be bottoming out behind the ball. So those are two of the major big issues that I think that can affect it. Naturally, turning too much is definitely it, and parallel big players in chopping the ball, and after you've done that, come ahead of it and top it. So check those things out, but start with is your nose at the ball, and is it at the ball when you get to the top of the backswing, and is it still at the ball when you come into impact? Because if your head's moving around a little bit for whatever the reason is, that ball is technically moving. As far as your vision goes, it's pretty hard to get this club to get solidly on that ball so you can hit it solid and straight every time and start shooting those lower scores. That's it for the search for today, and I'll be talking to y'all again soon.